ones. This video comes with a small warning. There is going to be a dissection. We're going with affairs of the heart today. I would say it's not going to be a heartbreaking affair, but I'm literally going to cut into a heart. So if you don't want to watch this, you might want to go for a diagram version, or on YouTube there are quite a few that talk you through in diagrams. But as part of GCSE, so we're doing AQA Biology Paper 1. As part of the GCSE, we would do a heart dissection, and it is really important to know what's in your body, etc. And these hearts are just from Tesco's. So let's get cracking. Here's my heart. Not mine, obviously. Here's my heart. This one actually doesn't smell great. Okay, so we've got, you can clearly feel it's quite a muscular part, and the left-hand side of the heart feels much, much thicker than the right side of the heart. And we know that it needs to be much, much thicker muscle, because it's got to force a lot more blood under a lot more pressure. So the right-hand side of the heart is where the deoxygenated blood comes from the body. And the left-hand side of the heart is where the oxygenated blood from the lungs gets pumped around your entire body, taking oxygen, glucose to your cells for respiration, as well as lots of other things like amino acids and lipids and, not lipids, fatty acids and glycerol around your body. So I'm going to start dissecting into this in a minute. Quite often people do struggle with where to start. So I would always suggest find your left-hand side in comparison to your right-hand side, and you'll know where a good place to start is. Okay, first things first, just looking at the heart, you can see this, all this white kind of deposit on there. And if you cut into it and pull a bit off, that's just fat. Okay, you have a protective layer of fat around your heart, and obviously, depending on diet and health and stuff, people have more than others. And if you have poor diet and obesity and things like that, you get fat deposits that lay down in your heart. Now, around the outside, you have got these, or you can actually see blood moving through these. You've got these blood vessels, including the coronary artery. Now, the coronary artery is what provides the oxygenated blood to the heart. And if these get blocked, that is when you have things like heart attacks, and so you might have to have heart bypasses and things like that, and that would be because these blood vessels, and you can quite clearly see blood moving through that, if that gets blocked, that's when you get a build up or a clot of blood, because the blood cells can't flow through there, and that can lead to things like increased breathing rate, high blood pressure, increased what word am I looking for? You get increased blood pressure, you get increased breathing rate, you get an increased pulse, heart rate, because the body is struggling to get as much oxygen as it possibly can into your cells for respiration. Okay, look at the top here. Let's have a look at blood vessels going in and out of the heart. So I'm going to cut in to have a look at them, but you need to know how the structure of these are different. Some hearts that we get have a lot more in terms of these blood vessels than others. So I'm going to pop this down. Now I can feel that this is really squishy, okay, and I can feel that this is really thick and hard. So this is the left-hand side of the heart. Now, obviously, if you're doing the classic L for left, this is actually incorrect. This is the right side of the heart, but when we're looking at a heart, we're looking at it as if it's on your body. So this would be your left-hand side of the heart on your body. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by going through the journey of a red blood cell through your body. So I'm going to start by cutting into the right atria. So I'm just going to cut through there. So you can see it's all muscular. You can eat these, that's why they're in from Tesco's. There we are. Let's see if I can cut through to the top there. There we are. Cut through that little bit of, I just kind of always see this as meat. You can see there's some blood clots in there. And you can also see these little pockets and heartstrings there. Okay, so we have got 4 parts of the heart. Now I always try and remember the 4 parts of the heart in that the A, so if you were to draw an A, it's an arrow pointing upwards. So we've got 4 chambers, and the 2 top ones are called atria, right atria and left atria, or atriums. So they point upwards, and then a V, when you draw a V, points downwards, and so that's where the ventricles are. So you've got atrium and ventricles at the top there. So I'm just going to cut open this right side of the heart. Okay, now when I have just cut through a blood vessel there. Trying to find it. There it is. So this is here. This is the vena cava. It's the vena cava. So blood comes into the body via the vein, the vena cava, and it comes into the right atrium, and then it goes down into the right ventricle, which will contract, and it will push blood up through the pulmonary artery. Now, arteries are anything that goes away from the heart, and pulmonary means essentially to do with lungs. So we've got the vena cava coming in to the right atria, blood goes down to the right ventricle, and then it goes up through the pulmonary artery off to the lungs to get oxygenated. Now, you might see here, these are literally your heartstrings, and they hold in place these things, which are valves. Now, valves are to stop the backflow of blood, because obviously we've got blood coming downwards and then being pushed upwards with the contraction, going against gravity. Now, valves prevent the backflow of blood. Learn that sentence, you always get a mark for it. Valves prevent the backflow of blood. So they these valves, this is the semilunar valve, will sort of catch blood and then force it forward, stops it going backwards down into the ventricles as well. There we go. Isn't that lovely? And so that leaves the right hand side of the heart through the pulmonary artery. Can you see it's a little bit thicker? I've lost the vein. It's a little bit thicker than the vena cava. So I've got my fingers through there. This is gross, isn't it? Okay, and then it will come back and it will come into the left ventricle in the left side of the heart. Going to have to edit that bit. Okay, so I'm going to cut into the left hand side of the heart. Cut a bit too far down, actually. There we are. So you can actually see here, I've got the left ventricle here and the left atrium up here. And then again, we've got a bit of muscular tissue and some tendons there. There we go. So this is the left ventricle. So we would come into the left ventricle. Just trying to find my good. There we go. There's the aorta. There we go. So we come in. We come back in through the pulmonary vein. Remember, pulmonary means from lungs and the vein means going into the heart. And it will come into this part of the heart here. This is the left ventricle. Just see how thick that is just here. And it will come down into the left ventricle, and then it would get pushed up and come out the thickest of all the blood vessels here, the aorta. And the aorta would take that blood all around the body to every single cell. So it would go into your arteries under a huge amount of pressure, and then it would go down into your capillaries, and then it would go into your cells. Okay. Notice we've got quite a lot of heartstrings. So if you hear the phrase tugging on the heartstrings, that literally often means that you've made the blood go faster. So it means these have to be more taut. And they again are holding valves. There's a valve there. Valves which prevent blood going backwards. You can also see all this, like, I saw this described as like looking like the roots of a tree. Actually, rather gentle. You can see they kind of have the roots like a tree in here. And that is to sort of almost slow the blood down and also start pushing it up in the direction it needs to go. So they do directional, and then it will come out here via the aorta. I'm just going to cut straight through the center of the heart. Now, the middle of the heart is called a septum. Okay, like your nose. I'm just going to cut right through the center there, just to give you your money's worth. Isn't that gross? Okay, so we have got a clear comparison there in the thickness of the tissue. And this is the septum here. So the septum has got lots of nerves in it to force blood upwards when it gets to that contraction. The other thing that you need to know about this is on the right hand side of the heart, you have the pacemaker of the heart. So that's up here. So that will start off the contraction flow. So we've got a loop doop, loop doop, loop doop sound. And so we would have the lub sound here, the pacemaker of the heart in the right atrium. And we also have another one which causes a contraction. So the contraction will cause a tensing of the nerves going down here and then up here. So the lub is filling and the dub is getting that blood moving. So yeah, the muscle thickness is a really important thing. Knowing your blood vessels is really, really important. The 4 blood vessels that you need to know. So it goes vena cava, right atrium, right ventricle, pulmonary artery, pulmonary vein, left atrium, left ventricle, aorta. You need to know that. And that's it really. 4 chambers of the heart. A's are upwards, V's are downwards, atriums, ventricles, and you need to know the direction of flow. So we go in and up and in and up and then around the body. That's it. Don't go breaking my heart. I hate that song. When dissecting, I have a picture near me. I just printed this off the internet. Quite often, I just do a simple drawing like this. Computer one, and then that's mine. I mean, it's not labelled or anything, but it does the job. I've got the thicker cell wall, I've got the direction, and then I would just label that up. I mean, being able to draw this, quite impressive, but you just need to be able to name the main parts. So I had that just to remind me of names, and notice the V's are on the bottom and the A's are at the top. That's the heart. Boom.